Alright, so hi, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good evening, everyone. I hope you guys still fresh and okay with it to continue. Alright, so our group are going to continue the presentation today. If you guys still remember, our topic before is social linguistics, the relation between a society and language. So today we are going to go deeper on that topic. Before we couldn't give a lot of example, but today we are going to talk about our own experience with each part of it. So I'm going to start with this is our group member. Recognize the voice of him. Alright, so the first part is factors affecting social linguistics. Next. So we are going to talk about socio-economic status. Of course, there are too many factors affecting social linguistics, but our focus today, the spotlight is on socio-economic status. Children from lower SES, socio-economic status families, show slower vocabulary growth relative to their higher SES peers or friends. So the estimation suggests that by age 4, the kids, age 4, children from professional families, or T20, hear of about 45 million words on average. Meanwhile, children on lower status, B40 for example, they only pick up or hear 13 million on average, right? Due to several factors, of course. But I want to talk about educational perspective. Okay, let's talk about my own experience on this. It's on my own nephew about this. Of course, I have a lot of nephews, too many, and I would like to talk about my boy, which is named Ziyad and Faik. And about Ziyad, Ziyad is 5 years old and Faik is 8 years old. Ziyad can speak good English, can solve average math calculations, something like that. You know, Ziyad talk with me in English, not in Malay. Most of the time, he asks me, did I eat, what I'm doing in English. 5 years old. While Faik, he struggled to even pick up an average English word. He couldn't remember any of it. He couldn't solve any simple math calculation. I asked him 2 plus 2 for example. He struggled to answer that, 8 years old. While Ziyad, 5 years old, he's way too advanced. Sometimes I ask him, keep it slower. You're a kid. Keep it down. Of course, education is good, but you're 5 years old. It's okay. Keep it down. You should be rearrange stuff. Fight with your little sisters. Go play around, not studying. You shouldn't be stressing over that thing. So the reason why I will tell you, Ziyad was exposed with an early education since he was 3 years old. My sister enrolled him to QALLIS, and he loved books. He loved to read. He loved math. And he didn't watch cartoon with comedy themes. He watched educational cartoon. While Faik, he live in village in Terengganu. He was left behind in education because he doesn't go to any extra class like Ziyad went. Next time. Right, this is the data. As you can see, this is what children from higher SES professional they pick up a higher vocabulary on average, while children from families on welfare, P40s, pick up a lower status on this. Next slide. That's all from my part.
So thank you for the wonderful explanation, Hadi. So Assalamualaikum to everyone. My name is Ayman and I'm going to be sharing my experience about social dimension. So basically I'm going to talk about the status scale and also the formality scales, which I'll relate with the Malaysian business and also working context. So based on my experience, previously I worked at 7-Eleven. You guys know 7-Eleven, right?
Yes.
So I was the store manager for my store, and below me there are store crews and workers who work under me. So they are considered as subordinates because they are lowest in terms of the hierarchy. And above me there are Sir Tony, which is the SOM, Senior Operation Manager, and also Mr. Sahal, who is Area Field Manager, FM. So basically, when I am talking with my workers or crews, I tend to use more informal language. This is because I am the superior for them. And for example, I'll say like, Mohd, please sweep the floor. Or I'll say like, Mohd, get the box there. So it is considered more informal way. But when I talk with Sir Tony or Mr. Saha, I tend to use more formal language because they are the superior for me, based on the chart. And this is because, for example, I tend to use their title when I'm addressing them. As you can see here, I need to call them Sir Tony, Mr. Shah. I can't simply just say, Tony, where's the bank statement? No. I have to address them properly, like, Sir Tony, can I know where's the company's bank statement? So that's the way. So when I'm talking to my upper class manager, I tend to control my tone and intonation comparing when I'm talking to my workers here. So you can see the language different when I'm working at here. Next slide. So basically this is our data research, and it is stated here where the blue line here is information, the orange line here is support, and the grey line here is enterprise. So these all relate with business. And among all these categories, superior and subordinate pairs shows the max amount here. Do you guys know what is max? Max is, yes, would it? Yes, maximum. But in terms of data, it is the highest amount among all. So as you can see here, 4.17 for support, 4.18 for information, and 3.8 for enterprise. And how about you, Muhammad Firdaus? What do you think about this our data analysis? Because I know previously you have working experience. Do you agree that superior and subordinate need to have a good relationship?
Yes, I agree that you need to have this kind of relationship because you could not afford to hurt their heart or hurt their pride, as supposed to say. So yeah, I agree with this.
So in conclusion, I can say that superior and subordinate need to have a good relationship in order to develop their business and taking care of the image and reputation of that particular business. By how? Is by language and communication. These two are the main roles in working industry. So that's all for me. I'll be moving on to the next one. So everyone, I'm going to talk about modeling variety or code choice. So let's do a quick recap about modeling code choice. I'm going to simply explain to you guys with 5W, which is what context, who, where, what topic, and what code you should choose. So the next one is, this is the example of my personal experience of using modeling code choice. So in context of family, my parents asking me about my day. So I'm using Bahasa Melayu as my medium of communication with my mom, my parent. It is because my parents are comfortable using Bahasa Melayu in having conversation with me. So the next one is my experience at the workplace. Back then I used to work at Zofi, and I met a regular customer, which is she also a Chinese, and the domain for the topic that I'm talking to her is fashion. So and then see, of course, the Chinese customer, which is also one of my friends. Setting workplace topic, I'm having conversation with her about coffee, and I'm choosing my code, which is English, because she tend to use English more with me. So the next one. So this is the data that I collect among my mates on what code choice do they prefer to talk with their Chinese friends. So as you can see, 5 of us prefer to use Bahasa Melayu, 6 of us use English, and also only 1 of us prefer to use Mandarin. So to conclude my topic, I would say that modeling our code choice is important in our daily conversation. So that's all for my part. I move on to the next present.
Alright, so we're presenting the next one, which is code switching and code mixing. So if you guys don't remember what is it, so basically code switching is basically you switch your language. For now, let's say I'm talking bahasa, I'm using English, but sekarang saya guna bahasa Melayu. So that is code switching. While code mixing, basically you mix it up. Macam mana? How do I say? How do I cakap this? I mix this language up. Alright, so the reasons why I code switching or code mixing is first, there's gonna be a language barrier among us. Alright, so basically when, like Fah said, when she talked to me, I don't understand whatever she said when she used vernacular. So that's the language barrier. So we tend to code switching, to code switch or code mixing, because it's to understand her or me better. Okay, so there will be no miscommunication, especially in terms of working. Yes, this is very important, especially in the line of work that I have worked, which is I used to work as a bodyguard for high ranking people here in Malaysia. So there's no room for miscommunication to happen. You cannot do any mistake. So that's why we tend to use one language, which is English, when we working. And the second one, of course, like I said, is requirement of my job. Why? Because there's just not only Malaysia there, there's also foreigners like from America, from England, also our own people here, Malay, Indian, English, Chinese. So that's why we tend to code switching or code mixing. Alright, so not only that, aside from high ranking job that I work, this is also the latar of migrant population migration that happened here in Malaysia. So internal migrants is basically people from other states moving out to other states. For example, Kelantan people move to KL, or Johor people move to Kelantan, something like that. It's in internal state. But next one, let's say Malaysia, there's a 3.48 million immigrant. This is outside, people from outside of our country moving in here, because our country is basically a job mine. Here the pay is good, that's why they come here. So that's why I have, when I work with them, these people who could not talk Malay, so I have to change up, I have to code switching up however I can to make sure they understand me. Not because I don't love Bahasa Malaysia, I do love Bahasa Malaysia, I love it very much. But because of these factors, I have to code switching or code mixing it up. So you guys understand?
Yes.
Good.
Alright, so thank you, Daus. So let's continue with diglossia. So we all know that diglossia is the two distinct varieties of the same language, which are used in a community, with one regarded as the high variety and the other is low variety. Next. Alright, so here we can see the chart showing that which varieties are applied in various situations according to Ferguson and Fossil. And next, the other one is the chart showing from our roommates that shows how the H and L varieties are used. And we can see the similarities between the usage of the H and L varieties, and emphasize how does the H and L varieties really work in a situation. So to put on my experience, back in my school days, my Malay language teacher always taught in standard Malay with no slang at all while she was teaching us. At first I don't understand why, but now I know why, because when she is teaching us, it is a formal occasion and where the H variety should be used. And the other one is my junior from back in my high school days too, which he tends to use formal standard Malay, which is Bahasa Melayu Baku, while he is conversing with us. And I thought that he was weird. But when he enter a competition like a debate or essay writing competition, people don't seem to be really care about how he was conveying his speech. And I can say for certain that why I thought he was weird, because of the unsuitable usage of H and L variety that he used. So in conclusion, I can say for certain that while either varieties can be used in both spoken or written forms, in most diglossia situations, the H variety would not occur in everyday conversation, while the L variety would generally seem odd in writing. So that's all from me. I will move on to the next.
Okay, so thank you, SYAFIQ, for your explanations on diglossia. Moving on is polyglossia.
So polyglossia is almost the same as diglossia. The only difference is that polyglossia is 3 or more distinct variety in the same language, in the same society or area. So you just add only one variety more. So the closest example is Malay dialect. So Malay language has many variants, such as Kelantan, Terengganu, and Kedah. Well, according to my personal experience, let's shrink down the scale into Terengganu. So, you see, Terengganu dialect, we all know that Terengganu is different from Kelantan. But did you know Terengganu also have their own sub-dialect? Which means in this state, there is different variety, more than 3. For example, I have friends from Hulu Terengganu. He pronounced jalan as jalan. But my friends from Terengganu, which is Nizam, he said jalan. He don't say jalan. But then from Palinurus, Hakimi said jalan. So I kind of confused why they say all differently, but they are the same dialect and speak the same language. So I did my research, and according to Nur Hashimah, the distinction between dialect and subdialect actually based on phonology and lexical differences, which is the vowels and the consonant differences. So another interesting fact I know from my friends, he told me that in Hulu Terengganu actually there are 30 different dialects. Can you imagine? In Hulu Terengganu, not in Terengganu, in Hulu Terengganu itself, meaning that each village got their own dialects. That's really interesting, right? They are all the same language, but have different varieties. Unfortunately, the Hulu Terengganu dialect is dying out, so I feel like we should preserve it at least a part of our uniqueness in our language. So I also did research based on my group mates. I asked them, can you use more or 3 or more distinct varieties in the same language? Unfortunately, only one can use it. It's very rare to find. And next, I also asked, did you notice the difference between dialect and subdialect? And only half of us noticed it. I think that's all from me and our group.
So do you guys have any questions? Yes, Iza?
I want to ask about education.
Yeah.
Adi. What's your opinion towards the parents who force their children to study since they are young, very young, like 3?
My opinion is when it comes to education, it should always be on priority, regardless of age. But as a parents, they also need to be considerable as well. Because I think the nature of a children is to play. They come to school to play. They don't come to school, today I want to memorize 3 mathematics fail or what. No, they want to meet friends, they want to play the blocks and so on. So parents need to understand the nature of the kids. Give them education slowly, but make sure they are not living too far behind.
Yes.
That's my opinion on it.
And
But
to add for that, in Finland, which is the best country that produce graduates in university, most of the researchers say that it's better to have children play at that age instead of forcing them. When you're forcing them, then it will take toll when they are older. When they're older, it's basically I've learned from my children. Then what am I supposed to do now? Yeah, they will tend to what I'm supposed to do. I earned my PhD, but what now? So I think it's better to let them play and have their own life first.
yeah,
And then,
sometimes the children they are too obsessed, not too obsessed, but used to be after school. I need to go to extra class. I need to deal with books, and they lose their childhood memories. They don't have much friends. They kind of be like nerdy.
they can learn, and when they get older, they will develop depression.
So I'm done with school. So what now?
So yes. Any questions?
Any questions?
Yes, Rodney?
I actually have 2 questions.
Yeah, sure.
First question is, can we go back to the questions where you guys say that you will usually change the language that the quick things? Because in one of the questions you said that usually you will talk to Chinese friends in Mandarin. So
This one.
Yeah, I'm actually quite interested. Which of you, if you guys can't speak in Mandarin, how do you speak in Mandarin with your Mandarin friends?
That one
As a
person.
Mandarin friend,
That 1%, this 1%.
as a Mandarin friend, I'm quite curious that
Yeah,
why
I
didn't you guys
understand.
talk to me in Mandarin?
That one person is me. For example, like when I play basketball, I play with my Chinese friends. Or in UNIZA, I play with my Chinese juniors. I speak with them Chinese. You know, I develop my Chinese. So I just if I can speak their language, I communicate with them. There's no barriers there.
Yeah, Ayman can speak. Ayman can speak Mandarin, you know.
Why don't talk to me in Chinese?
There's no what part of you is Chinese. It's what he
Okay,
learned.
okay. The second question I have is when Dawis you say in Bahasa Malaysia,
Yes.
when you mean Bahasa Malaysia,
Yes.
do you mean Bahasa Melayu?
Yes.
Then what is the definition of Bahasa Malaysia?
Bahasa Malaysia is the national form of language that we use, which is Bahasa Melayu.
So do you think that Bahasa Cina and Bahasa Tamil is not Bahasa Malaysia?
It is not the national language.
No, okay, so there's a change in the perkataan something. We change from Bahasa Melayu to make it more like Malaysia. We say to Bahasa Malaysia. To make sure that Chinese and Indian and other
Just like you,
Bahasa
like,
lain.
you can say Bahasa,
Bahasa
you
lain.
can say Melayu, right? So it means that you talk in Malaysia. It's not like I'm degrading in Chinese or something, but it is from what I've read from the perlembagaan. Okay, it's not like I'm degrading. It's good to have this knowledge Mandarin and Tamil, but from what I've read in perlembagaan Malaysia, it is Bahasa Malaysia.
It's more to nurture the patriotism in Malaysia.
Yes.
So when people ask you from another country, where are you from? You say you are from Malaysia, right? You don't say I am Chinese Malaysian. You say you are from Malaysia. Like that.
Yes. Any more questions? Did I answer your questions? Yeah. Alright. Any more questions? None? Alright. So that's all. Thank you, madam.